Thank you, Alon. Pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone. My name is Zion Arel, and I'm the CEO of IXDen. We'll present today our new approach or different approach of looking at the IoT device and how to defend them. Few words about the company. We're established in 2017 in Tel Aviv, and we have an office in Houston. Our technology is looking at the normal behavior or abnormal behavior of devices. And when we talk about IoT devices, we're talking about sensor, gateway, PLC controllers, all the way to the ICS. Our customer coming from the critical infrastructure, we're working with water, oil, gas, electricity, and energy, both in the US, Europe, and Israel. And we are currently in the A round, and we actually closed today our first investors in the A round, so we are happy that this day came. Here is my partner, Dr. Leonid Cooperman and Uri London. All of us came with the background in security, cyber, software. Coming to the point, I think people mentioned it before, but we're looking at the digitalization and we're looking at how sensors and IoT can improve themselves. We see more and more company going to the edge and computing more smart devices. Also, we see more intelligent system analytics. Everything get much better, including the protocols. So the companies are using much more devices, and I mentioned that it came all from sensor going to the PLC. But out of all of this, we're still seeing, and we're talking with companies that about 80% of the sensor data are not transmitted through SCADA, which means that the OT people cannot really trust or see on the app what's happening down. So we are focusing our solution on trust. How can we trust the data? Because we feel that by using a lot of those sensors, trust is being not taken care correctly. Especially when we talk about devices which are weak, both on the operation, both on the physics and the cost. When we talk about the COVID-19, we see even from the point of view of the IT, we see much more risk came up. And again, the people before me already talked about us, and we did see some attacks coming up during the last weeks, both in Israel and mentioned it also in different critical infrastructure, but others as well. So IT faced a lot of problems, with the COVID, but we also saw some problem came to the OT, which mean, that because the companies moved mostly to work in remote. They needed to manage their asset in remote, couldn't send technician to the field, didn't know what's happening actually in the field, still need to take decision and operate, critical infrastructure. And especially when you talk about not even intention, which is cyber attack, which is and tampering, but also unintention, which is calibration, sensor malfunctioning, and those type of issues that can be happening every day. So COVID-19 actually showed us how technology is really important, but also the big problem of companies, how can we trust the device data? So IXDen came with out of the box thinking of this solution, which actually what we are doing, we're actually looking at the behavioral of the sensors. We actually, and we call it data at trust, at the source, which means that we would like to see how can we trust the data that's coming from the sensor itself before it goes to the network of the organization. South to the TCP IP, this is where we live. What the company is actually came up with, it's a patented technology, which one grade, we call it IXDen, IX grade, which actually provide the organization the healthiness of the sensor data in one side, but also the security level from the other side. So we actually provide two solutions in one system, both for the IT and for the OT. And we're using a lot of course, machine learning and AI to do that. But the idea is actually to look at the abnormality of the behavior and bringing it to the OT people and the IT people in one grade. 255, meaning this is just an example of a quality of the data. The way that we do it, just in few words, we have an agent living south to the TCP IP, actually on the gateway level, which collects us information from the sensors, from the network, and from the hardware and software. And then we build what we call biometric identity. For any device, we build a biometric identity, which means that we are able to look at the device the same way that we're looking at the face of a person. And this is the difference here in the solution, because it gives us the ability to build an ID which is dynamic, which is changed, because a lot of those sensors that are changing. On the other side, on the server side, which live on the on-prem organization, we are doing multi-factor authentication, which actually for any transaction we are doing set of questions, security questions, based on the proprietary mathematics model that we built, which enable us actually to provide a solution based on multi-factor authentication, which means a lot of security issues. And if you are analog into the financial, when you take money from cash machine, you've been asked 1 or 2 security questions. We usually ask between 20, 30, or even 40 different security the device. So the device is giving us the indication of the data. So this is the way that we do it. We are a software company. We're not dealing anything with the hardware. It's all about software. As I mentioned, we are working with different type of critical infrastructure company. In the electric side, we're working in project which is including smart grid and smart meters, which coming up today as a big issue for energy company. In waters, we're looking at threat management, desalination sites, pooling this site and all the operation around it. Oil and gas focus on upstream and midstream in the US, basically, monitoring all the operation around that. On the right side of this slide, you can see how the system is actually generating both data on behavior. This is representation on a graphic mode, but actually we can see that we can provide both penetration points, which is coming up from the system, as well as the abnormality or normality of behavior of sensor. And this is the way that we are presenting it to the organization. They are able actually to take reaction. So we are doing the detection here for this system. So actually the big value that we provide to customer is as I mentioned, is the trust, the ability to trust. We believe that the only way that we are actually provide trust is being able to collect information using an agent living southbound to the TCP/IP. That's the only way to be able to make sure that the data that is coming from the sensor getting into the network are real and not fake. There is no other way to do it. That's our belief. So this is how the way that we do it. So then we're enabling remote sensor detection, remote asset management organization from those type of attacks. The implementation of our system is relatively low due to the fact that we're not dealing with the hardware, and the scale is just about software. And the cost, of course, that we believe that this is the last slide is just the way that we feel that how can CISO and CIO should be prepared for the next wave of COVID-19. Hopefully it will not happen, but if it will happen, we believe that companies should be focusing on looking at how to take the technology to the next level, especially in the IoT and the devices, and trying to look from the OT, not only the IT, on issues that coming from the operation, not specifically from a cyber attack. Remote asset management, that's the name of the game. I know in the US, it's the big, right now, the big wave, how to make companies working in remote, how to monitor the data correctly, and how to detect and react. And also continue to accelerate the legacy system to IoT platform. I know that this is not an easy task, but that's, I think, the future. Everybody understands that. And last but not least, and looking at the sensor level. The sensor is the basic of the data. Anything else is just a continuation of the operation north. So this is my email address. If anybody wants to communicate with us, we'll be happy to talk. Thank you, everybody, for sharing the time today.